Don here in Florida, and we're back for part 2 of the Dunlap 103, or the 103 versus PROC competition. We're going to see who's the better drill press, and right now I think the Dunlap is taking the lead. So with no further ado, let's get on to it. All right, let's see what we got here. Looks like that navel gel did what she was supposed to do. Look at that, peeled all that right off. Took the letters up off the bag too. Alright, that should clean up nicely in the lathe, so let me stick it over there. I moved all my parts except for the chuck over into the mineral spirits this morning, so now we'll clean these up. So, and these are just going to get some initial cleanups here, and this shaft, for example, we're going to polish this out on the lathe because it goes through the quill. And we want that to turn just as smoothly as possible. Notice these splines are all full of crud here, even with the soaking. Look at the crud coming out of there. These handles don't look so bad after they got evapor-rusted. That's going to need a little work right there. This is going to get polished, actually. Nice bronze bushing at each end of this. I'm hoping this gear doesn't have the sawdust and transmission effect. That it was so smooth and nice because all the sawdust in it. That'll be sad. I think I'll clean this right up on the wheel. Let's just check one thing here. Yeah, see how nicely it slides on there now? Don't want to lose that. Looks like that retainer got bent when it was in there at some point. Remember when it was jamming and I was trying to take this out? That one doesn't look bad. I have to blow that out with air. Okay, I'm going to transfer all this into a box so I can move it around. Not a whole lot of parts in this, are there? I switched out the steel brush for the brass brush because it's a little easier on some of these older parts, and I don't want to take down any metal or scratch them. So let's go ahead and start with this. that's the surface. It rides inside the bushing. So we're gonna put that on the lathe with some polish and polish it out even more. So the smoother it is, the nicer it's gonna ride in that bushing. Start seeing the marks coming out here now. 0, 3, 2, 1. If you look close, you can actually see that it's burnishing brass onto the steel. I think I may just leave that as its own protective coating. Okay, we're going to finish cleaning up some of these parts on the Scotch-Brite because where the rust had got in on some areas, it raised up the surface, and I just want to flatten that down. Looks like a new one. Give it a little sanding on the inside before I get done. Okay, before I go on the lathe to polish this out, I can feel like imperfections in this spline here, like it was cut but never deburred, that sort of imperfection. So I'm just gonna stone this out a little bit here, and this is just so it will slide more nicely through that pulley. I don't want any catching up or anything to kind of hold it from moving nicely. I found the same issue on the Craftsman when I did that too, and just by doing that it really smoothed up its movement. See right there, that's all it took to get those burrs out, and you can even hear it clearing up as you do it. Yeah, see, now I'm not getting anything catching on my finger. If I move over to the next one, I can actually feel the burrs catching on my finger. So I think this goes a long way to helping. And apparently they didn't think it was a big deal at the factory, but just a little attention to detail stuff like this really improves the machine quite a bit. Okay, so I think this will be the last time. I'm going to work a little bit more polish into there. I think I lost that last amount of footage, but when I went back to camera it wasn't taping, so. But I think one more round of polish will do it for this. So we were still picking up quite a bit of gray material that last time. I'm going to speed it up a little bit more this time too. I missed it the last time around. The polish I'm using is very, very fine polish. I don't want to use any heavy diamond grit polishes because that might take some metal out. So you see, we're still getting a lot of crud out of there. And even after, I think this is what, the third time, fourth time. So it is really coming out nice though. I'm gonna have to change this rag. I'm getting too much crap coming up onto it. Look at that, it's turning black practically. Okay, we got a fresh piece on here to finish it out. Yeah, you can still see the brown coming out, or the gray coming out. Okay, that's, oh yeah, that's way, oh, that's like glass. That's way nicer than it was. I'm happy with that. We're gonna leave it just like that. Okay, remember this piece here? This went inside that bushing. This is what the splines slide through and the pulley screws on right here. Well, this part here rides inside that bushing in the top of the head. And this part here was giving me grief when I was taking it out. I don't know if you remember, but I was filing this down a little bit and polishing it. I'm gonna polish this end out just a little bit more and then polish this back here where it slides in the bushing. Yeah, I'm trying to stay away from this area down here. I don't want to take out any metal. I can feel right now there's no grabbing on that cloth, so that's a good sign. Move it real light over there. So that obviously smoothed that up to where I need it now. That didn't take much. I already had it most of the way there. I just want to make sure there were absolutely no high spots in that for when I put it back. And notice I'm not even bothering taking off those rings right there. There's no need to. Wow, that was nasty. But it is polishing up nicely. Wow, it is. It's taking those scratches out. Oh yeah, I'm not going to spend any more time on that. That's really good. All right, let's move on to the next thing. A few episodes back, I was talking about the need for having a good amount of tooling so that you could do different things. And between the last shot and this one, I had to change out to this chuck, which moves back against the head here, and put in this bull nose. I have the tailstock actually hanging about 2 or 3 inches off the end of the bed here. But I wanted to be able to do this in the lathe because it just speeds things up. So invest in tooling. I think I'm going to go invest in a fan. Hang on. Got this fan behind us to get some of that dust out of here. All right, let's see if she's ready for this. All right, I guess we're gonna call that good. I'm gonna have to flip it around just to get that other end a little bit better. So, okay, so we got her pretty well cleaned up. It's nice and smooth anyway. So we're gonna put a little bit of this on it because I don't know when I'm gonna get back to doing this part, and I don't want it rusting on me. At least not until I start using it. So let's wrap that up in there. That'll keep it nice and dry, making our steel burrito. Alright, I'm gonna go stick that out of the way. Okay, so we got all this pretty much cleaned up, and we're happy about that. So all the got all this moving smoothly. So this is how it all goes together inside the machine. So you can see that fits on the reel nice and tight right on the bushings. So we keep all that together till we put it back together. These castings will start flash rusting real quick if I don't get some paint on them. Okay, I just spent 5 minutes outside getting all the old wood shavings and sawdust off of this thing. So we're going to dig into it. You're going to see what I see as we go, because I did not pre-tear this down. Okay, that's not good. Let that sit in there for a minute. All right. Looks like these shafts can turn out here, which will be good because I want to clean these up real well. Okay, turns out these were pressed in, so I had to get on the hydraulic press there and push them out. So now I can get them into some evaporust. I'm going to put all this stuff in some evaporust too, so just give me a moment. Alright, I guess you don't want to come off as easy as I thought, so I should have probably gone and got my good puller, but this was available under the bench, so we'll try this. Let's hope I don't regret this. Okay, so far it seems to be coming. Oh, not bad. Let me back it up here. Let's try for a second round. Seems to be coming. Should have just done that from the beginning. There we go. Whoa, that's an old capacitor. Make sure there's no juice in it. There we go. Yeah, she's soldered in too. So we'll just leave it like that for now. Yeah, I noticed after I blew it off, it says, it doesn't say the manufacturer, but it says right here, it's got a part or a serial number here, quarter one, so it's a quarter horsepower, one phase, 60 cycle. So 115 volts, continuous duty. So yeah, I kind of wished I knew who made this, but we may discover that as we go. I was hoping for a plate on the side here or had been painted over, but I don't see any manufacturer's data plate on there. So I noticed it's got oiling holes on each end, so probably it was meant to mount this way, not on end. Maybe that's why there's so much end play in it now this way. I don't know if that's a lot, but I noticed also keyed, and the pulley I took off of there just used a screw, so probably this isn't the most perfect motor for this application, but you know, it's big, it's heavy, it works. We're gonna keep using it. All right, just making sure there's no secrets here. Remind me when we put this together that the nuts protrude out the front. Kind of nice, got some screwdriver points there to, woo, look at that. It's got our speed limiting switch right here. This doesn't look too bad, does it? Ooh, look at those wires. Yeah, that's definitely needed some help. Okay, that's it right there. That's the, okay, I'm gonna have to mark that. There we go. That one's soldered in. I'd rather deal with that on the bench than here, so we can splice that back. That's not a big deal. So, uh-oh. Look at that. It's been broken right there. It's funny because it ran nice. Okay. I don't know if we can get this on the camera, but it looks like it's been broken. Looks like it's been broken right here. Okay, so I took my buck 110, the back of the blade, and I managed to straighten these out. Remember, they were pushed up against each other as if something had hit them and bent them over there. All the other ones were fine. It was just these bottom ones right here that were like that. So I got them back, and they're mounted down in some type of rubber here, and they seem to want to spring back to the wrong position again. So what I'm going to do is we're going to mix up some of this epoxy here, and if you ever do this, don't use the JB weld with the metal in it, because remember, we're trying to keep metal away from each other here. That's why we straighten those back out. So this is non-metallic, and the idea here is we're going to get that down between these, and that should hopefully keep them from pushing back together. And what I'll do is, after this sets up in another day or two, I'll come back with a Dremel tool and I'll go ahead and take out the excess and bring everything nice and flat. And I'm hoping this works for me, because I don't want to have to go out and buy another motor at this point. I have another motor over in my storage facility, but this one's a 1725 and the one I have over there is a 3400, and I don't need to be messing with that. Okay, so it's filling up right between those grooves in there, and that's what I want it to do. And you can see out here, these ones are fine and these ones are fine. It was just these two here that got messed up. So keep working that epoxy down in there. The stronger of a block I can get between those, the better it's going to be in the end. because I really don't need them migrating back to a bad position. Alright, that should just about do it. So maybe tomorrow or the next day we can get in here and clean that out. Might be able to wipe out some of the excess right now. Just save me some extra labor later. Alright, so that should just about do it.